Okay, now the last thing we're going to look at is solving an equation that deals with an exponent. Now there's a couple things you want to be sure you do. First, you want to be sure you set this equation equal to 0. Then we're going to factor. Then we're going to set each factor equal to 0. And then we're going to solve. Excuse me. So that does kind of give us a little plan of attack here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the first thing we want to do is set this equation equal to 0. There we go. I wanted to make that a little bit bigger so you guys could see it. There we go. So we're going to set this so it's equal to 0 by subtracting 8 from both sides. Now remember your laws of common terms or like terms. You cannot combine a 2x and an 8. You cannot combine an x squared with an x. So actually we're just going to write this on the end. We're going to have the 3x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Now I know you've probably gotten a lot of practice factoring in your MML, and I also want to encourage you, there's a lot of resources out there for factoring. So please don't hesitate to ask if you're having trouble factoring, and we'll do our best to help you. Now this is a little bit harder to factor because of what we call this leading coefficient, the number in front of the x. I'm still going to make my two parentheses. And I'm going to need to factor or break this 3x up. Now, I like this because there's actually only two factors of 3, and that's 3 and 1. But now I have to play a little bit of some guessing games. I have to think about the factors of 8. So over here, I'm going to write down my possibilities. 1 and 8, and 2 and 4. And what I want to happen is I want the, if I were to FOIL this or remultiply it, I want to come back out with this product right up here. So I got to play some guessing games. If I were to put 4 and 2, just because I after you practice these for a long time, you do tend to get good at seeing them. 4 and 2 in there, that's going to help me. Now I got to decide on some signs. I want a negative 2x, which means I want the negative to go with the bigger factor. So I'm going to put it with the 2, and you say, okay, Leah, you just told me you want the negative to go with the bigger factor. You're crazy. But what I mean is the bigger factor when you do your multiplication. So 3 times 2 is going to be negative 6, and 4 times 1 is going to be 4. Now, if you want to check your factoring, you can always FOIL it and check first, outer, minus 6x, inner, 4 times 1x is positive 4x, and last, minus 8. And these would indeed combine to a negative 2x. Now, if you do the FOILing and you get the wrong answer, it doesn't mean you have to give up. It just means you have to try some different combinations. Try some different positive-negative combinations. Try switching the 4 and the 2 if you didn't get it correct. Try seeing what happens. And like I said, the more you practice, the better you're going to be at it. Trust me, it comes from a lot of practice. Now we're going to split this up and set each factor equal to 0. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look and say, okay, what I got to do is I have to set 3x plus 4 equal to 0. And then I have to set x minus 2 equal to 0. And we want to solve each of these individually, like they're not related to each other at all. So we're going to start with the red side by subtracting 4. 3x equals negative 4, and then we'll go ahead and divide by 3. And I'm going to write it off on the side here so you don't lose sight of the whole problem. X is negative 4/3. The blue side is actually easier to solve. We're just going to add 2 to both sides. And these would be my solutions. Now you can, if you want, write them in curly brackets to indicate their solutions to your equation. -4/3 and 2. So just remember these steps. Set equal to 0, factor, set each factor equal to 0, and solve. And best of luck factoring. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff I can help you out with in terms of factoring. So do please let me know if you're struggling with the factoring portion of the problem.